I always thought the big talk was something you did once and then moved on. Sam and I were those kids who actually listened in health class. We're 18 seniors and we had a plan. College first, career second, life. Eventually we had this unspoken rule, a boundary we drew in the sand and never crossed 2 years of dating, and we'd stayed on our side of that line. So when the coffee started smelling like gasoline and my favorite hoodies felt like they were suffocating me, I didn't think baby. I thought flu, or maybe senioritis. But the universe has a twisted sense of irony. I took the test on a Tuesday afternoon in the Starbucks bathroom, mostly to prove my own anxiety wrong. I leaned against the cold tile, checking my watch, waiting for the single no that would let me breathe again. When I looked down, 2 pink lines were staring back at me, solid, unapologetic. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I just stood there in that cramped stall listening to the muffled sound of milk steaming and people laughing over lattes while my entire world hit a brick wall at 60 miles per hour. The math didn't work. It was like trying to solve an equation where 2 + 2 equals your life is over. I drove to Sam's house with the AC blasting. Even though it was 40 degrees outside, I needed to feel something other than the static in my brain. When he opened the door, he had his physics homework spread out on the kitchen island. He looked so normal, so safe, I didn't even say hello. I just put the plastic stick on the counter next to his calculator. The silence that followed was heavy. It wasn't the "I'm here for you" kind of silence. It was the sound of a glass shattering. Sam looked at the test, then at me, then back at the test. His face went pale. That ghostly white that makes your freckles pop. "Mary?" he whispered, his voice cracking. We never." "I know," I said, and for the first time, the tears started. "I know we didn't. I swear to you, Sam, I haven't even looked at another guy." He didn't get angry. He didn't call me names. He just retreated. He looked at me like I was a stranger wearing his girlfriend's face. He told me he needed to think. He told me he'd call me. He didn't call by Thursday. The silence had turned into a roar. You know how news travels in a small town. It's not a leak, it's a flood. I walked into the cafeteria and it was like a movie scene. The volume dropped, heads turned, and then the whispering started. People I'd grown up with, people who knew me, were suddenly looking at me like I was some kind of cautionary tale. I heard the rumors. She's a liar. She's cheating on Sam. She's making up some crazy medical excuse because she got caught. I spent 3 days eating granola bars in the library, archives hidden behind stacks of old yearbooks. I felt like I was disappearing. I felt like the truth didn't matter because the lie was more entertaining on Friday night. There was a knock at my window. It was Sam. He looked like he'd been through a war. Dark circles under his eyes, his hair a mess. He didn't wait for me to open the glass. He just pressed his phone against it. He'd been on medical forums. He'd called an anonymous nurse line. He'd spent 72 hours researching rare instances and biological anomalies. He climbed inside and just held me. No questions, no accusations. "I'm sorry," he mumbled into my hair. "I'm so sorry I let them say those things. I'm so sorry I doubted the one person who never gave me a reason to." We sat on the edge of my bed, 2 teenagers staring at a future that looked nothing like our plans. We had to tell my parents. We had to face the school. We had to figure out how to be adults when we still felt like kids playing dress up. When we finally told my mom, she didn't blow up. She didn't lecture me about biology or boundaries. She just sat on the ottoman, her hands shaking slightly, and looked at both of us. "I thought I'd protected you," she said softly. "I thought if we followed the rules, the world would be fair." She reached out and took my hand. Then Sam's. "The world isn't fair, Mary," she said. "But it doesn't mean you have to face it alone." That was the moment the static finally stopped. The rumors were still there. The how was still a mystery that biology books struggled to explain. But for the first time since that Starbucks bathroom, I realized that while the lines on the test were permanent, the isolation didn't have to be. We weren't ready, not even close. But as Sam squeezed my hand, I realized that sometimes the hardest stories to tell are the ones that end up saving you.